Good morning everyone. It is way too early in the morning and therefore it is the best time for me to do a voiceover chat with you guys. In this video I want to show you one of my acrylic pourings again, which you might have already seen in my other videos, and this time I went a bit bigger. So this time is the first time I used a 40 by 40 centimeter canvas, which is double the size than I normally used to. I normally use the 20 by 20 or 15 by 15 centimeter canvases, so quite small ones, but some of my Etsy followers or favorites, likers, don't know how to call them there, asked me if I can also do some bigger ones. So I, of course, can do some bigger ones, and this was the first one to try. I wanted to use my purplish blue palette again because these colors worked really well together in one of my or some of my smaller paintings, and so I started as usual by grabbing all the stuff that I needed. Some cups, my paints, some things to stir around, some gloves, which I did not use in this time because I was running out of gloves, but got new ones in the meanwhile. And in addition to the paints themselves, I again used my acrylic binder, which is just the acrylic paint without the pigment. So just the stuff the acrylic paint is made from without the pigment to increase the volume. You can also use pouring medium from Liquitex, for example, or some Floetrol, which I've heard some people use. I did not yet. I have some here. I will try in the future, so check out these videos. And some water. You do not need anything like pouring medium or Floetrol or whatsoever. You can use the plain acrylic paint and just add water to it, but you will need more paint. So whatever you actually like most, if you have access to quite large amount of paint which are not expensive to you, go for it. If you want some money on the paint himself and add some pouring medium or acrylic binder whatsoever, go for it. Compared to the amount of color that you will use, the acrylic binder is a bit cheaper. It is not that much of a difference, but every bit counts, and I want to test it if it works. So it works. It just increases the amount that you have for your paint. And for the first time, as this is a larger canvas, I will need a larger cup to make a flip cup. And therefore I just ordered some bigger ones. The rest actually was quite the same. I mixed my colors and poured them into the bigger cup. As this is a larger canvas, I made it again red, as I do always for my canvases. Reason for this is to make it a bit tighter. So in addition to the normal added water, I also added some of my white paint onto the canvas and spread it around, just to make it easier for the paint to flow over the canvas. And then I flipped the cup around and hoped for the very best. My first impression when I flipped the cup was, oh, that will be awful. But then after having spreaded the color over the canvas, it started to look better. Except for the edges, which did not have any paint coverage yet, and I did not really want to move the paint any further because it started to look quite nice. And so I just poured some of the color which was still left in my cup over the edges, which looked a bit odd because it did not really fit to the flow, and so I swiped the edges, which then started looking cool. When everything was set and I've covered the edges with some dripped off paint, so always keep care that the edges are covered as well, because it will look strange if the edges of the canvas are still white or only partly covered with paint. So just use the dripped down paint to cover the edges. And finally I used my torch to bring up some of these cells underneath, which I hope to achieve, and it did work quite well. The last stage is actually only hope that it dries well, which it did. You never know how it looks until it's really dry. Normally the acrylic paints look way more vibrant when they are still wet and poured onto the canvas than they look when they are dry. They normally darken a bit, or even quite a bit, and so I hope for the best. And it turned out really, really well. It is on my Etsy store, or at least it was on my Etsy store, depending on when you see this video. And if you like some of my acrylic pours, just go over there and see what is left or what is available and grab one if you like. After 2 or 3 days, this depends on how thick your paint is and everything is dried completely, I normally add a coat of varnish, or sometimes I do even resin cover the painting. This has the advantage that you will get some more depth back from the painting. So when it dries, it loses a bit of the depth, it always does, and the varnish or the resin coat just brings this back to life and gives you much more vibrancy and color depth than you would have without it. So I really recommend to varnish or to resin coat it when the painting is completely dry. Make sure it is completely dry, otherwise you might mess up the painting. Another small tip relates of drying time: do not try to rush the drying. So do not put it out in the sun or in the oven or wherever it is warmer and you think it might dry a bit quicker. This can mess up your paint. So when the upper layer of the paint dries quicker than the paint underneath, you risk cracking, and it is like baking a cake in the oven. So if the top dries quicker than the paint underneath or the cake underneath, it is going to crack. And this is something you do not really want for your paints to do. Put something over it, a paper box or whatsoever, which protects the painting and keep it in a way moist, so that it can dry on its own and give it the time that it needs. Things happen, so just be sure everything is safe and it can dry as it needs to. As usual, if you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comment section below. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to not miss out any of my other fluid paintings or the realistic stuff that I usually do. And I would be happy to see you in my next video. Have a great day. Bye bye.